This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Once a king, always a king.
In the Windy City, the crown rules the streets.
Chicago is the motherland for all Latin kings.
They're the violent masters of the city's lawless hoods.
Protect the brown pride. Manifesto says kings die, but we multiply.
You can rob people, you can shoot people, you can do whatever you want to do.
The Latin kings. They'll kill anyone to keep their kingdom pure.
They'll sell you out, backstab you, put an SOS on you, slam on sight.
Latin Kings in Chicago is the most vicious, brutal, law-breaking gang ever made.
Chicago. The Windy City is the home of championship sports teams, world-class restaurants, and the thumping nightlife. It's also the birthplace of the modern gang. The original Scarface, Al Capone, put Chicago gangs on the map and under his thumb, and changed the way crime happens.
You have the history in Chicago with organized crime, but really even in the mob's heyday, they were not piling up murder victims like the Chicago street gangs are.
Capone set up his gang on the north side, where his crew committed some of their most brutal murders. Today, Chicago's gangland is run from Humboldt Park.
Humboldt Park has two sides. The east side of Humboldt Park and then the west side of Humboldt Park is ran by Latin Kings.
Humboldt Park is the birthplace of the almighty Latin King and Queen nation, the heart of their kingdom.
Might vary to about 20, 30, 40, 50 members on a block. Here's where you got a lot of dominant Latin kings here. It's going to save your L as a Latin for the Latin. It's going to give you numbers. It's going to have a 2. It's going to have a 7. It's going to tell you where they're from. From 27th, here's an actual street. 27th and Drake.
The Kings, without dispute, are the toughest and best organized gang in Chicago.
These guys are very lethal, and they'll be quick to do what they have to do.
Either kill that motherfucker, get on, beat him. Nothing is a problem. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a Latin King.
Big T asked to have his identity disguised. He's a former enforcer for the Latin Kings who grew up in Humboldt Park and joined the gang when he was 15.
I was in love with gangbanging. I was in love with making money. I was in love with I was in love with the whole package.
His story is not unique. The gang has recruited an estimated 25,000 members from across the entire city.
There's too many of us. You can't get rid of us. We're here to stay.
It's true not just in Chicago, but across the United States.
Chicago Latin Kings are the biggest Hispanic gang in Chicago and the country.
The Latin Kings are 50,000 strong nationwide, making them a super gang, with huge chapters in 4 corners of the U.S., including Los Angeles and New York. Yet all roads lead back to the motherland, Chicago, where the Latin Kings desire just 3 things.
And money and power, and drugs.
From meth to cocaine to marijuana, they own Chicago's drug trade.
The way you make the money is by selling drugs, whether it's cocaine, whether it's marijuana, whether it's ecstasy. That's what it takes to make money.
Some drugs are sold secretly from legitimate businesses.
Fruit markets, restaurants, little dives. They know people like to eat in little dives that are not expensive, so they use their dope money, open one up, and hey, I can sling dope at a tamale stand. I can bring a kilo across in a battery, pushing the paleta cart.
The nation, unlike most gangs, allows women to be full members. They are called the Latin Queens, and they're every bit as hardcore as the Kings.
I had drugs in and out of my house like water. All I had to do was pick up the phone and make a phone call, and I had what I wanted, when I wanted it.
Sonia Rodriguez asked to have her identity concealed. Her street name is Lady Q. Lady Q is the former girlfriend of the mastermind of the Latin Kings, a ruthless criminal named Gustavo Colon, aka Lord Gino.
It was rough. Being Gino's girl is rough. It's like being with the whole Latin King Nation.
Lord Gino has been locked up for decades, but managed to build the King's criminal empire from behind bars. Lady Q helped him run the streets.
I was Gino's eyes and ears. So if I knew that one of the guys was trying to get over on him, whether it was a drug deal or just scamming on him, I used to bring it to Gino's attention. That person used to be dealt with on the spot.
Lord Gino is currently behind bars at the Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado. He's on lockdown alongside some of the country's most notorious criminals, but that has done little to diminish his power.
You know, it was the original Latin Kings. He is the man.
Lord Gino is, we consider him as a corona.
Chicago authorities have struggled for years to stamp out Lord Gino and the Latin Kings. And they've learned there's just one way to do it: divide and conquer. June 2003. A joint task force formed, comprised of the ATF and the Cook County Sheriff's Department. Their plan: to cripple the Kings by taking out their top leadership. They called it Operation Broken Crown. There was only one way to gather information about the gang: from the inside.
We have individuals working off their arrest, or we also have individuals who are working for monetary purposes, and we have individuals working for revenge purposes.
Two high-ranking informants would help authorities learn confidential information about the Latin Kings' hierarchy and operations. But to gather evidence to build a case, they needed a mole. Then one landed in their lap.
One of the confidential informants had introduced me to a relative who was also a Latin King. And based on that introduction, he decided to become a confidential informant with ATF.
The Latin King agreed to wear a digital recording device. He was the last person the gang would suspect.
The individual was actually the guy in charge of searching all the Kings coming into the gang meetings. They were able to bypass all the security, or their security checkpoint that they thought they had.
The snitch wore a secret bug to meetings. The task force heard the name of one Latin King time and time again: Fernando Ace King.
He is feared amongst the Kings. He is a very violent individual.
Ace was the #2 Latin King leader in Chicago. He provided protection for gang members in the drug trade and was known for his quick temper and brutality. In this secret audio recording, Ace is heard ordering the beating of another Latin King.
Lock the f***ing door! I got it. I want to tell you how to act. Be off, that's it. We don't let this.
He wouldn't be an easy target. Ace knew how to steer clear of cops and snitches.
He's learned from other law enforcement investigations how to insulate himself from law enforcement.
To get to Ace, the informant would have to solicit help from him. In 2006, the informant set up a phony drug business and paid Ace for protection.
Our informant approached him and said, well, you know me as a drug dealer, and I'm going to start my drug business again. Will you afford me the same protection that you afford other Latin King gang members?
Ace wasn't paid in cash. So one cold Chicago night, the informant gave Ace a fake kilo of cocaine. This surveillance video shows Ace with the coke wrapped in a towel, stuffing it into a heating duct. The task force was gathering priceless evidence against Ace and the Latin Kings. But the nation's powerful empire wouldn't crumble that easily.
No matter where you from, we all got teeth, man. Exactly, yeah, exactly what I do, okay? I do a picture, bro. You don't do that.
Wherever you go, there's always a Latin King. Or just that big.